So you've been on your weight loss journey for a little while. Maybe you're doing keto and carnivore, but you're kind of missing some stuff that maybe you really enjoy. Maybe you've got a sweet tooth. Well, I got a real special video that I'm gonna be doing for you today. I'm gonna be making one of my low carb keto mousse desserts. Now, what's cool about this dessert is that you can make this into any flavor you want. This is only gonna be 4 to 5 ingredients. That is literally it. Now, I'm on my way to the grocery store to get the ingredients, so I'm gonna show you all the ingredients that you're gonna need. It's only gonna be about 5 ingredients, and anyone can make this, and I'm telling you, if you've got a sweet tooth, this is gonna really hit the spot. All right, this is a major ingredient that you're gonna wanna get. You're gonna wanna get 8 ounces of cream cheese, okay? This is gonna make the base, so we definitely need the cream cheese. The next ingredient we're gonna use is 1 cup of heavy whipping cream. This is gonna make it really fluffy, so you'll definitely wanna get the heavy whipping cream. Now we need to make this dessert healthy, okay? So we're not gonna be using regular sugar. We're gonna be using Swerve, okay? This is the confectionery one. Basically, it has erythritol in it, okay? They actually make a brown sugar, so if you want to make chocolate chip cookies, they have the granulated version, but for this version, for the mousse, we need the confectionery one. We are going to need some vanilla extract, so we'll definitely be using this. The next thing we're going to use is Lily's dark chocolate chips. This has 0 sugar in it. It's sweetened with stevia, so we're going to go ahead and get the dark chocolate Lily's chocolate chips. Now with this dessert, like I said before, you can use any flavor you want, but let me just show you really quickly the ingredient, or the main ingredient that I'm going to be using to make this really tasty and sweet dessert. So I like the Smucker's organic peanut butter. This is the one where you have to kind of stir the oil on top. So we're going to go ahead and grab this Smucker's organic peanut butter. All right, we are back from the store, and just to recap really quickly, only 5 ingredients. 8 ounces of cream cheese, all right, that's gonna be our base. And then we're gonna use some Swerve. I showed you that, the confectionery Swerve. We're gonna use, the main ingredient we're gonna use is the peanut butter. Now, like I said, you can make any flavor you want. You can make a cheesecake mousse, a chocolate mousse, a strawberry. We're gonna make a peanut butter keto mousse. And then we got the Lily's chocolate chips, okay, this is 0 sugar, and we're gonna use a little bit of vanilla extract. Now, if you don't have a mixer, no worries. For years, I didn't have a mixer. You could use one of these hand mixers. I got like an example of one I could show you right here. Basically, you know, it's the old-fashioned handheld one with the beaters, of course. I remember as a kid when my mom made cookies and stuff, she always let me lick the beaters. I don't know, am I the only one? Was that a 70s thing, or do parents still do that today with their kids? I don't know. Anyway, so let's go ahead and let's just start this. This is a really good, now just be careful now. This is a high-fat keto dessert because you got cream cheese, heavy whipping cream, peanut butter, all very high-fat ingredients, so you still gotta be careful. Now, before we dive right into this video showing you how to make this, for those of you who are just now watching me, you don't even know who I am. My name is Tim Ernst. I'm an intermittent keto fasting coach who all the way back in 2018, I discovered this keto thing, right? So I started doing it, I applied intermittent fasting, and I lost 70 pounds in just 7 months, all right? Kept it off for a good couple years, then 2020 happened. We all know what happened in 2020. I fell off the wagon. I put some weight back on. I stayed like that for 4 years until this year I decided I had had enough, all right? So I started in January at like 233. I'm now down under 190. I'm around that 188, 190, kind of fluctuating back and forth. So I'm sticking to it. I feel great. I've hit my goal, and I've also coached hundreds of men from all over the world to lose at least 40 pounds in 16 weeks using my Keto Shed 40 coaching program. If you want more info on that, I'll go ahead and drop a link into the description of this video that'll kind of give you an idea as to more in detail of how I could potentially help you. And you have an option for you and I to jump on a call. We could talk about your goals, and we'll just see if you and I would be a good fit for that program. All right, so let's start with the very first step. I've got my utensils here, so you're gonna need like if you got one of these mixtures, you're gonna use a paddle first. The first thing you wanna do is you wanna let the cream cheese sit out a little bit. Make sure it's soft, That's going to make it especially easier to work with if you're using the handheld beaters, okay? Not so much with the with this mixer, okay? And for those of you who are not aware, I actually was a bakery manager for a good couple years. No, not couple years. I was a bakery manager for almost 20 years. Okay, 20 years I was a bakery manager. So I know a thing or two about baking product, okay? Okay, so we got that in. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna take this cream cheese out of the thing. So 1 block is 8 ounces. So we're gonna go ahead and just drop this into the bowl. And you know, while I'm doing this, when I started on my journey, you know, back in 2018 with the whole keto thing, I didn't do all these like keto desserts and all that kind of stuff. I really stayed strict. So this is really going to be good for those of you who maybe you've been on your journey for a while and you're kind of looking to like, you know, add something that maybe you're missing some sweets. Maybe you have a sweet tooth or something like that. This is a great way to actually get that sweet tooth in there, or get your sweets in there if you have a sweet tooth. But, you know, I wouldn't recommend to do this right out the gate. Okay, if you do this right out the gate, what can happen is you end up craving like the real thing. Okay, so I would be very, very careful with starting off with making all these crazy keto desserts and all that kind of stuff. Keep it simple at the beginning of your journey. Keep it stupid simple. Just remember that acronym, okay? Keep it stupid simple, all right? And you're gonna do just fine, all right? But again, if you've been kind of craving something, you've been on your journey for a while and you're like, man, I'm kind of getting the itch, I'm getting a little bit of a sweet tooth, this is gonna be amazing. And like I said, you can make this any flavor you want, but we're gonna be doing peanut butter today. And man, working with cream cheese is like really, really messy. So let me just go ahead. I'm just going to go ahead and wash my hands here. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to mix that. This shouldn't take too long because I let the cream cheese sit out a little bit. So shouldn't be much of an issue. And I like to mix like the kind of the wet ingredients first, right? It all depends on what you're making. With bread, it's different, right? You add the flour, the yeast, and then you add your water, right? Well, with desserts like this, I kind of like to add my the wet stuff first. Okay, so we got that in there. So what I'm going to do is we only need a little bit of vanilla. It's like a half a teaspoon. We're just going to go ahead and put that in there now. Just kind of makes sense to do that because this is really all I need is a half a tablespoon. So I got one of these. Let's see, make sure that that's right. Okay, half a tablespoon. There we go. And basically, anytime you're making these mousse desserts, all of them require like a half a teaspoon of vanilla. Okay, that's kind of like the extra flavoring that you need. Now my favorite is the keto cheesecake mousse. You can make this into a cheesecake. You add a little bit of vanilla and just a little bit of lemon. It kind of gives it that cheesecake flavor, okay? So we got that. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna turn this on, and you're just gonna wanna blend it till it's pretty smooth, all right? So we're just gonna make sure it's nice and smooth, and then what we'll do is I'll probably add the peanut butter next, okay? So you wanna make sure that it's really nice and smooth, okay? Just, you know, medium speed. And then the next thing we're gonna use is we're gonna be using this organic peanut butter. We're gonna put that in there, but we already put our vanilla in there. The next thing we're gonna do is a half a cup of peanut butter. So let's just go ahead and slow this down. We'll turn it off. All right. Now we're gonna go ahead and we are gonna add our half a cup of peanut butter. Now, like I said, I like this one. The reason why I like the Smuckers with the oil on top, it only has 2 ingredients, peanuts and salt. That's all that should be in your peanut butter, okay? There's no reason to have like palm oil and all that kind of stuff in your peanut butter, okay? It makes no sense. Peanut butter should just be peanuts and salt. It's that simple, okay? So now we got our half a cup. So we're gonna go ahead and put a half a cup of peanut butter in there. And there's gonna be a little trick to this, because what I'm gonna have to do is once this is all blended together, I'm gonna have to pull everything out and I'm gonna have to put it in a bowl, because we have to use the heavy whipping cream as well. The heavy whipping cream, what that's gonna do is it's gonna make it nice and fluffy. It's gonna look like whipped cream, and you're gonna wanna add it to this base, okay? But we haven't gotten that far yet. So let me just go ahead and get my half a cup of peanut butter. This peanut butter is so good. In fact, A little trick I used to use with peanut butter. Let me explain that really quick. So when I was on my keto journey, you know, there were times I did like 1 meal a day, 2 meals a day, but then there were times where I just wasn't that satisfied, okay? And what I discovered is that peanut butter, if you've got like that extra craving, okay, at night, maybe you're kind of struggling, you already had your meals for the day, but you're still struggling. This, I'm telling you, the peanut butter, 2 tablespoons works, okay? It's gonna curb that craving and it's gonna satisfy you, okay? Okay, so we got our half a cup, so we're just gonna go ahead and we're gonna pour that in there, all right? Again, I mean, you can make chocolate if you want, a chocolate mousse. All you would need is cocoa powder, which I have in my pantry. I've got the cocoa powder in there. So this will be a good treat to have. And I'm going to go ahead at the end of this video, I'll kind of show you how I'm going to present it as well. Because presentation is a thing too, okay? Yeah, it's great that it tastes good, but you want to do some presentation. You know, I'm a baker. I was a bakery manager. Not anymore. Isn't it interesting? Speaking of being a bakery manager, I was into fitness even in the bakery, okay? And I still managed to stay fit, and I worked in the most unhealthiest department in the whole entire store was the bakery department, all right? Let's just go ahead and turn this on real quick. I want to get this nice and blended, okay? And you can go ahead and speed it up. That'll make it mix really even faster, okay? It'll blend in a lot faster. All right, so that's almost done. We'll kind of back off on that a little bit. And I think the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and put in our Swerve. Now with the Swerve, that's gonna be where you're gonna really wanna make sure you don't have any lumps in there. So let's go ahead and let's add our half a cup of Swerve. Now what I'm gonna do is, since I'm making a mess here, and I only have one of these half a cups, it's got the peanut butter in it. So we're gonna eyeball this, okay? One thing about being a baker is, you know, a good cook, I don't know, man, a good cook or baker, this is just my opinion, you know when things are done. You can eyeball it and you can tell that something looks right and it's gonna taste good, right? It's like grilling meat. I don't really trust thermometers too much. They're not as accurate as they should be. I can just tell by feeling it, it's done, okay? So sometimes bakers have a great way of, actually here's my heavy whipping cream. We're gonna be doing that next. Bakers have a great way of being able to eyeball things and things turn out just fine. So this is the sweetener you want to use, okay? We're not using regular sugar. We're just going to be using this Swerve, which is basically erythritol, okay? This is what's going to make it sweet. So that's probably, yeah, I would say that's about a half a cup right there. I don't think we need any more of that. So again, as you saw in the grocery store, we're using the confectionery Swerve. Now this one is going to take some time to probably mix because you got to make sure all the lumps are out of this. You don't want to leave any lumps. What you may have to periodically do is actually stop it, and then you're going to want to scrape the sides. That's something we always did as bakers as well. You want to scrape the sides of the bowl really, really good, and then go ahead and then you're going to turn that mixer back on, and we're going to let it mix. So we're going to go ahead and let this mix, make sure it's nice and smooth, and then I'm going to show you how to make the heavy whipping cream. So we're gonna go ahead and we are just gonna let this mix for a little bit, and we're gonna make sure it's nice and smooth. And then in the next scene, I'm gonna show you how to make the heavy whipping cream. We're gonna be using the heavy whipping cream. We're gonna make sure it gets nice and fluffy, but we're gonna have to use the same mixer. So what we're gonna have to do is take what's in here, put it in a bowl, and then we're gonna go ahead and do a cup of our heavy whipping cream. Okay, I think it's blended very well together, and what we're gonna do, we've got to do a little bit of a taste test. Like I said before, we wanna make sure that this has enough sweetener in it so it tastes like a dessert. So let me just a little taste here. Oh man, that is perfect. I mean, you don't want things too sweet. I would suggest not to do anything too sweet. But this is actually perfect. Now, what we got to do is we're going to go ahead and take, we got to change the attachments, okay? So we can't use this anymore. We're going to use a whisk. You got to use a whisk in order to get that heavy whipping cream to come up nice and fluffy. It's going to look like whipped cream. So we got to get all this off. And unfortunately, my kids are in school, so I am the one that gets to lick the beater instead of my kids. Nah, I'm just kidding. I'm not going to lick the beater. Well, why not? That's how you do a real taste test right there. Gotta make sure I don't get any in my beard. All right, I think I got it all off in there. Let's put that in the sink. Make sure I don't got nothing in my beard. Okay, cool. So actually I can see a little bit in my beard. All right, so this is what it looks like. We're gonna go ahead and we're just gonna put this in the bowl because we gotta get that whip topping in here. We're gonna do a cup of the whip topping, okay? Now, one of the things that I also made, I'll tell you another flavor. I gotta say it's right up there with the cheesecake one. I made one in fall, and you can kind of guess which one did I make. I made a pumpkin keto mousse dessert. And now the pumpkin is so good. You use real pumpkin out of a can, not the, you don't want to get the flavor pumpkin. This is just like the regular real pumpkin that you use for pumpkin pie. And then you're going to use pumpkin spice, and you're going to add a little bit of cinnamon, and then everything else is the same. You're doing the cream cheese, you're doing the heavy whipping cream, a little bit of vanilla, same ingredients except it was pumpkin, all right? Now, we're not going to get this totally, gosh, I feel like I can see that little bit of that peanut butter stuff in my beard. You beard people, you know when you got food and you can actually look down and you can actually see stuff. All right, anyway, let's get this all out of there, okay? So basically, you got to set this aside, all right? So you got to set it aside, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to put our 1 cup. Man, I can't waste. Dude, that's like abuse. You cannot waste any of that, okay? Now, this doesn't look like a lot, and it's really not. So if you want to double the recipe, you're more than welcome to double it. I mean, when you got a big family, you probably want to do that, especially if they like what you're making. But I'm just doing this, just showing you, like, you know, probably, maybe, you know, what we're going to do is we're going to be putting them in these little cups. I'll kind of show you. So if you want to get like one of these little dessert cups, that's probably the perfect thing to do, but we'll do that later. Now we're going to take our, gosh, what was that? Must have been some type of sugar that was, oh, that was the sugar that was in there. You know, guys, I'm making a major mistake, okay? You don't wear black when you're doing this because, you know, in the bakery we wore aprons, but we wore all white so you couldn't tell. But man, I can't believe I just got that powdered sugar everywhere. But hey, it is what it is, right? We're not going to redo the video and make it look perfect to show that I don't make any mistakes. I mean, I can't stand a lot of these videos. They're too polished. It's like, do any of these people make mistakes? Of course they do. They're just editing all that stuff out. Well, we're not going to edit. I'm keeping it real. I love the comments I get from you guys. I used to get a lot of comments. I still do. And people will tell me, like, this is the most authentic channel they've ever seen. And I try to be authentic, guys. I don't want to be fake. There's too much of that now in the world. People are just showing their highlight reels, and they're not really showing that, hey, they're human just like everybody else. Look, I mess up, I gain weight, I cheat from time to time. It happens. And now I've got powdered sugar on the floor and on my shoes. We're going to just skip all that because we got to get this done. I don't want this video to go any longer because I know some of you got short attention spans. A lot of you guys, some of you guys, not all of you, but some of you are like, get to the point, Tim. Well, when you're doing a recipe like this is going to take some time. You know, I probably should have, there we go. I think I'm going to made something else one time with this, and this thing is a little stiff here. So now that that's on there. Now this you're going to want to whip pretty quick, okay? High speed, okay? Because you want to make sure this gets really nice and fluffy. This shouldn't take long with this kind of a mixer. Full speed. The faster the speed, you're going to whip this up. Now you don't want to overdo it, but you want to make sure it looks like whipped cream when you're done. So we've got that, we've did our cream cheese. This is basically the last step, and we're going to be completely done with this recipe. And I'm going to show you, actually while that's whipping up, these you can get at your local grocery store. They're basically like a pastry bag. They're not the best. I mean, I kind of like the really big ones. Hopefully you can hear me because I know the mixer's kind of going here. I kind of like the bigger ones. These are kind of small. That's how they look, these little pastry bags, all right? But we're just gonna grab one, and we're gonna prep our bag because we're gonna be putting it in our dessert cup, all right? We're getting pretty close. That's looking like whipped cream right there. Let me just stop it right there. So that's what you wanna It probably needs a little bit more, so we're gonna make sure to just go just a little bit more. We're almost done, a little bit more, and this should look perfect. You wanna make sure we're getting really, really close. And basically it's just gonna look like whipped cream. So I think we're almost there. All right, let me just turn it on a little faster, get it nice and what we're gonna do, okay, I think that's good. Okay, see how that looks like whipped cream there? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our peanut butter mix and we're gonna go ahead and put it in here and blend it all together. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna take this off, all right? Just gotta lift up here and take this off. And we're just gonna get rid of all this whipped topping. All right, like so. And I'm gonna go ahead and rinse this off really quick because I did put it in the sink. So let me just rinse this off. And we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna incorporate all these ingredients back into the bowl here. So now we can just leave the whipped topping in here. Now, I'm getting really excited, man. This is, I mean, I already tasted the base of this and we're gonna be adding to this whipped topping. This is what gives it that mousse texture, okay? Now, you can eat it just like this without the whipped topping. It's actually pretty good. But if you want it to go longer and you want it to be more smooth and light and airy, then you gotta do the heavy whipping cream, okay? You gotta add that to it. But it's gotta look like the whipped cream, okay? That's how you wanna do it, all right? So we got that in there. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna put this paddle back on. I'm gonna go ahead and mix this up with the spatula. All right. Definitely making a mess here. I think it's so funny, man, when I watch some of these cooking shows or they're making certain things. It's like, how do they do it? Like, how is it like everything is so clean? There's like no like messes anywhere. You don't see anything. And I'm like, well, I know how. They do a lot of editing. That's how they do it. All right, so let's turn this back on. And we're just gonna blend this until it's smooth, okay? Now what we may have to do is use a spatula to kind of scrape the sides and then turn it on again. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and see how creamy and smooth this is getting. I mean, this is getting really nice and smooth. And the color isn't as brown as it was because we've added that heavy whipping cream to it, which is what you want. You want something light and airy. You don't want it so thick, right? Even though the base tasted really good when I tried it, you got to add this too. And we're going to have to do a final taste test too because we want to make sure that this is just right. I mean, I'll tell you why this dessert, I believe, is one of the best. It's a combination of sweet and salty. I mean, what more can you ask for? All right, so let's go ahead and do that real quick. So this is what you're looking for. You're looking for something that's gonna look really, really nice and smooth. So nice and smooth. And we're gonna go ahead, and I think that's almost done. Let me just, a little bit longer here. This looks very, very smooth. So it looks like we did really well there. Now, let's just do a little bit of a taste test with this, all right? So I'm just gonna go right in. Let's just go right in with the finger here. Wow. I think that is the perfect balance of sweetness and saltiness, all right? All right, now, so here's what we gotta do. Now, for the purpose of this video, what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to put all of this in a bowl. You wanna wrap it up and let it sit in your refrigerator for a couple hours because you want it to thicken up a little bit, and that's what'll happen when you put it into the refrigerator. But for the purpose of this video, I wanna just go ahead and make the entire thing. I want to get my bag ready and I want to go ahead and put it in the dessert cup. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And we forgot the last thing. Well, actually we didn't forget because that's the last step. The last step what we're going to do is once we put it in our dessert cup, we are going to go ahead and add the Lily's chocolate chips in that as well. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to get this all out of here. See, this is really, I mean, nice and smooth. Okay, that's what you want, nice and smooth. So let me just put this all in a bowl. And once I get it all in there, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna use our pastry bag, which I did pull it out somewhere. We're gonna use our pastry bag and we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna put it in our dessert cup. We're on to the final step. As you saw, I did make a little bit of an edit. I went ahead and just cleaned this area really quick. It was really getting to me, the mess, all right? So like I said, we're just gonna go ahead. Now, of course, you don't have to do this. You don't have to get all fancy and all that kind of stuff, but we're just gonna go ahead and cut a hole in this. And man, dude, what is up with the scissors? They don't make scissors like they used to. These things are horrible. All right, so we got that. Now, what I'm using is basically a star tip. This is what they use for like decorating the edge of a cake. That's all it is. It's just a star tip type of tip here. And we're gonna go ahead and we're going to put this in our dessert bowl. So we're gonna make it look nice and fancy, all right? Presentation's important too. Again, I don't like these. These are so small. I like the really big ones so you could put like a whole bunch in there, but you just kind of fold it over like this. Now we're just gonna go ahead and we're gonna put it in our bag here. This can kind of get a little messy too, guys. I'm gonna be honest. Again, these are really, really small to even do this kind of thing. Hopefully I can get enough in there to where I can kind of put this all in. Yeah, I'll have enough. But what you really want to do is you want to refrigerate this first, but I'm going to go ahead and do it now. I guess by not refrigerating it first, it'll make it a little easier to put it in this cup. So I think that's going to be enough. Okay, so let's set this aside. So I like the look of like that swirl when I see these desserts, right? So there it is. See, it's already coming out. So we're just going to go ahead and we're just going to go in a circle like that. Make sure to fill it. I might have enough. Actually, let me just put it down, make it a little easier because I'm getting to the top here. All right. And I'll show you guys what it looks like once I'm done here. It looks something like this. It's going to look like a, you know, just like a little swirl, right? And then what we're going to do is the garnish we're going to use is we're going to put the Lily's chocolate chips on there as well. So let's go ahead and put those chocolate chips on there. So, okay, so we got to put a little bit of the chocolate chips on there, and we're going to go ahead and put this in the fridge, and we're going to eat this bad boy later. All right, let's get a close-up and let's see what that looks like. So see, that's what it looks like. Nice dessert cup. We've got the peanut butter, the cream cheese, the Swerve vanilla, and Lily's chocolate chips. That is literally it, guys. So that's it, guys. That is my low-carb keto peanut butter mousse. Got the Lily's chocolate chips on there. This is an awesome way to curb those cravings, but do it in a healthy way. So what I'll do is I'll put the rest of this all in the refrigerator for about an hour or two, and then you can eat it, okay? So I really hope you enjoyed this video. I wanted to do something different. I don't show a lot of the stuff that I do when I'm making certain treats and things like that. But again, you know, if you're on your weight loss journey, you just started, you may not want to do these things right away. Keep it stupid simple. Eat stuff like the steak, the eggs, you know, seafood, chicken, avocado, bacon. Keep it simple at the beginning of your journey. You don't need to worry about all this stuff yet. Now, if you want to try it from time to time because you have a knack for being in the kitchen and that's your gifting, go right ahead. But don't stress over this diet, guys. Don't stress over keto carnivore. It's not as hard as people make it out to be. They think they have to make all these fancy recipes. Stick to the basics. Eggs, steak, beef, chicken, seafood, avocado, cheese, all those kind of things. Keep it simple. And then as you start, you know, getting the weight off and you want to try things like this, go for it, all right? So I'm going to go ahead and put this in the fridge, and then in a couple hours, I'm going to enjoy it. I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to like this video. Make sure to hit that notification bell so you don't miss any future episodes. Until next time, I'll see you then.